When Nehemiah finally arrived in Jerusalem, the city was quiet and wounded. The people looked weary and uncertain. Rubble still filled the streets where walls had once stood strong, and the broken gates hung loose like open wounds. For 3 days, Nehemiah stayed silent. He did not tell anyone what God had placed in his heart. Then one night, under the cover of darkness, he rose and took only a few men with him. Riding on a donkey, he went out through the valley gate and began to inspect the walls of Jerusalem. By the light of the moon, Nehemiah saw the devastation for himself, the burned gates, the fallen stones, the heaps of rubble that once formed mighty defenses. In some places, his donkey could not even pass because of the debris. The next day, Nehemiah called together the priests, nobles, and officials of the city. The people gathered around, curious. Then he spoke with conviction, his voice firm but full of hope. "You see the trouble we are in. Jerusalem lies in ruins, and its gates have been burned with fire. Come, let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem, and we will no longer be in disgrace." The people looked at one another, their eyes lighting up with courage they hadn't felt in years. When Nehemiah told them how God's gracious hand had been upon him, and how the king himself had supported his mission, the people shouted together, "Let us rise up and build." The work began in earnest. Families, priests, goldsmiths, and merchants all took their places along the broken walls of Jerusalem. Some repaired gates, others lifted stones, and others cleared away the rubble. Each person, no matter how small their section, built with a heart full of determination. Nehemiah walked among them, encouraging the workers. The clang of tools echoed through the city. The sound of hammers striking stone was like a rhythm of revival. Hope was returning to Jerusalem. But not everyone rejoiced. From nearby regions came men who despised the thought of Jerusalem rising again. Chief among them were Sanballat the Horonite, Tobiah the Ammonite, and Geshem the Arab. When they heard of Nehemiah's work, they mocked and ridiculed the builders. "What are these feeble Jews doing?" Sanballat jeered. "Will they restore it for themselves? Can they bring stones back to life from those heaps of rubble, burned as they are?" Tobiah sneered, "Even if a fox climbed on their wall, it would fall down." But Nehemiah did not answer them with anger. Instead, he prayed, "Hear us, O our God, for we are despised. Turn their insults back on their own heads. Do not ignore their sin. Do not blot it out, for they have despised you in despising us who are building your wall." And the people kept working. The wall grew higher each day, stone upon stone. The people worked with all their heart. When the enemies saw that progress continued, they grew furious. They plotted to fight against Jerusalem and cause confusion. But Nehemiah and the people prayed, and they set a watch day and night to guard the city. From that time on, the builders worked with one hand while holding a weapon with the other. Those who carried materials did so with a sword at their side. Even those who sounded the trumpet stood ready beside Nehemiah. He told the people, "The work is great and spread out, and we are far from each other on the wall. Wherever you hear the sound of the trumpet, join us there. Our God will fight for us." So from sunrise until the stars appeared, the people labored. By day they built, by night they guarded. And though the enemy schemed and mocked, they could not stop what God had begun. Despite every obstacle, the work on the wall continued. The enemies grew desperate. They sent letters, rumors, and even false prophets to frighten Nehemiah. They said, "Come, let us meet together," planning secretly to harm him. But Nehemiah replied firmly, "I am carrying on a great project and cannot go down. Why should the work stop while I leave it and go down to you?" Time and again, they tried to trap him, but Nehemiah stayed alert. He prayed for strength and kept the people's hearts focused on the task. Brick by brick, gate by gate, the wall began to take shape. What once lay in ruins now rose strong under their hands. Then, at last, after 52 days, the work was finished. The wall of Jerusalem stood complete, every stone a testimony to God's faithfulness. When their enemies heard of it, they were filled with fear, for they realized that this work had been done with the help of God. Nehemiah's story reminds us that prayer is the foundation of every victory. Opposition will always come, but with faith and perseverance, God's purposes will be accomplished. Just as God restored Jerusalem through Nehemiah's leadership, He can rebuild the broken walls in our lives today.